Hello dear chess friends, and welcome to our new video. In that video I will show some very important and instructive game to understand topic of passed pawn. So game was played between Robert Estrom and Jesper Hall in 1996 Swedish Championship, and let's see what happened in that game. White started with knight f3, c5, g3, knight c6, bishop g2, g6, and after c4 white goes for English opening, where black after e5 goes for so-called Botvinnik setup. So after knight c3, d6, we see that black plans to install Botvinnik setup with bishop on e7, on g7, sorry, and knight on e7, where he will try, if possible, to play bishop e6 or d5. Other plan can be queen d7 with bishop h3. Of course, white wants to install piece somehow on d5 to occupy that weak square. And nowadays, here the best is to play castling, where after bishop g7, the most precise move here is knight e1. So why this? Because if black goes for very often played wrong move order, knight ge7, even masters, even grandmaster follow that wrong move order, white has possibility after knight c2 and bishop e6 to play knight e3, and after casting to install this knight on d5. So white wants to install this knight. Knight on c3 is good, preventing b5, can go to e4, and the point is, of course, if black plays knight d4, white will have possibility of playing e3. If white goes with knight c3 to d5, so if white is forced to play like this, so black will be able to jump knight d4, and white never would be able to play e3. As you can see, that would be stopped. So after castling bishop g7, knight e1, black should play bishop e6. Now knight c2 is not good because c4 pawn is under attack, so doesn't matter if white will play d3 or knight d5. That will practically force white to install other knight, not desired knight on d5. So now if white plays knight c2, black will not castle. Black will just play d5 with an active and good play. And by the way, if white plays knight d5, okay, after castling white knight c2, white has so-called wrong knight, let's say like this, wrong knight installed on d5, and black has excellent play. So castling is more precise move order, but white still played d3, and after knight g7, castling bishop g7, a3, white played rook b1. So we see that white immediately goes to launch queenside pawn avalanche to prepare b4, maybe later bc to open b file, or b5 squeezing black more and gaining space. So after rook b1, black played a5, and yes, that creates hole on b5, but the point is after a5, whenever white plays b4, black will have a file open for his operations. After bishop g5, of course, h6 would be bad, because, you know, now black will lose some knight controlling d5, and white would go for a famous maneuver, very well known maneuver this, or maybe even he can install bishop there after exchanging knights. That would be perfect for him. So many games were won in past. White stayed just with good knight against poor g7 bishop, and with initiative on the queen side, he convincingly would be able to win the game. So let's go back. Black did not play h6, black played, of course, f6, bishop d2, bishop e6, and knight e1. Why not d5? I don't know. That is logical continuation and better option. Black played queen d7, with idea maybe queen h or bishop h3. Once again, white decided not to prevent d5. I would rather suggest knight d5 here, but okay. Knight c2, strange move. And finally black played d5 now. So now we see that black lost very important tempo. It would be better to do with queen on d8, so if white takes twice, black will not lose time for playing queen d7 and queen d5. Now b4 was played, and that was, I think, a mistake because white plays on the wrong side. Now you can see if white goes with that pawn with so-called bayonet attack, black can just take once, and with c-pawn, pawn should go toward the edge. After white takes back, black has possibility to play a4. Excellent move. Of course, black creates passed pawn. If white plays something neutral, black will play b5, making that pawn passed and supported. And any endgame will be just desperately lost for white because of weakness on b4. And black will have better majority, passed and protected passed pawn. And black will also have better bishop. Just see how pawn exposed on b4 will be so weak. So white must play b5 himself practically. That is good. Knight d4, and once again white allowed mistake. Here he should go for e4. Very common approach. So if you think opponent will take with a pawn, so advance your pawn, don't allow him to have a backward pawn. And if knight queen goes back, taking, now e takes d would be horrible. Of course, that pawn will be isolated. White will have excellent majority on the king side, where black will have also bad bishop. Black will take with queen, but now bishop e3, queen d7, and rook b4. Rook b4, as you can see, white prepares d4, white attacks pawn on a4, and game would be balanced. So that should be played. Instead, white allowed crucial mistake by playing knight e3, and as you can see, queen e6. Queen is ready to support that passed pawn. Knight c4. The point is knight is not stable there. Black could play e4 immediately, but he decided to prepare that with f5. So knight on c4 is not safe at all, and black will undermine its position with e4 sooner or later. Bishop e3 was played, and finally e4. As you can see, e4 is very important move for many reasons. One reason is to undermine that knight on c4. So as you can see, knight on c4 will be in trouble. Support from pawn d3 is not so stable at this moment. And also very important is black removed f-pawn, black removed e-pawn. So bishop has open diagonal. That bishop will dominate on that diagonal, supporting that passed pawn. What can white do? Let's see. He decided to take on d4. How to handle that position? Should white take on d4 or not? Well, if not taking, what to do else? Here we can see better option will be for white to play a rook b4, but black will have excellent possibilities with, let's say, e takes d, creating weak pawn, and after e takes a3. So that position should be, as you can see, winning for black, where after knight a3 there is a very fine tactical shot queen d6, protecting knight, attacking rook, and attacking knight on a3. White will be practically forced to sacrifice the exchange. There is nothing better. But here, after that, of course, queen b3, let's say, that changes nothing. Just rook f7. Everything is okay for black. There is not knight b6. If white takes on d4, there is exchange up, and black should be able to win that game. So that is not good advice for white, but still should be better than played in the game move bishop d4. After bishop d4, rook b4 was played. After rook b4 was played, of course, pawn a3 is under attack, and black is practically forced to advance, but okay. He could include move e takes d, but there is no reason to do that. After e takes d, white to complicate. Maybe white can play queen d3 with tempo, so black decided just to play a3 immediately. Black has passed pawn, active pieces. He has also easy play, and everything depends if white will establish firm blockade on square a2. If black plays a2, inevitably he will play even a1 queen, and the game would be over. So what should white do right now in that position? White should do something like d e, or maybe to try with e3. If white tries with e3, let's say bishop f6, and now for instance if white goes for closing that diagonal, black has strong answer a2. There is no other way to prevent than to play queen a1, then bishop e7, and rook must move, knight is lost. If white plays rook a4, black has excellent move rook fc8 and practically forcing white to take on a8, where after taking on a8 black takes back, and as you can see game is over. That's winning for black. So passed pawn here is predicted to end the game. That is really decisive advantage for black, having that passed pawn on a5. All that due to not precise advance b4. White decided to take. Let's see black's realization. There are so many tricks remaining. Black still must play precisely. Black played bishop c5. Of course, bishop c3 here would be even better choice to remove bishop and to control a1 promotional square. So after, let's say ef, let's say gf, and after rook a4, black plays a2 with an easy win. There is no way to prevent a1 with queening. Black allowed mistake by playing bishop c5, so he did not play bishop c3, he played bishop c5 instead, and rook a4 happened. Black must take, and queen a4. After queen a4, black normally has only one winning move, and that is queen e4. Black cannot play rook a8 to support that pawn, but exactly after queen e4 he is able to prepare that. So he has possibility also to play b6, rook a8, and to continue advancing this pawn. White cannot take on a3 in this moment because knight is pinned. He tries with queen b3 to set threat, so white wants to take knight a3, white wants to play also knight d6, but black has excellent move queen e6, not queen d5, don't allow opponent to play something like rook d1 with tempo, so queen e6 is the precise move. After queen e6, once again knight is pinned and there is no knight a3 move. Same time, there is not discovered check on that diagonal. e3 and bishop e7. After rook a1, rook a8, rook a2, still we see that white cannot take on a3. Neither with knight nor with rook, and game is practically over. Black must find a way to eliminate that blockade, and he saw possibility to play rook c8. White must play rook c2, and now black threats to mate on first rank with playing rook d8. So black rook has its freedom to maneuver. There is threat of rook d1 and queen e4 following. There is nothing better than rook c3. White wants to establish again harmony. Again there is threat of taking on a3. Black does not have rook d1, but now black has rook a8, and now there is not blockade on a2. White cannot play rook a2. White plays rook c2, but black got important tempo, and now he was able to play bishop f6, immediately to play maybe even bishop b2 if needed, or to control square, very important square a1. On the other hand, he played h5, that's not wrong. White played h4 and black played king h7. As you can see, both sides goes for some prophylactic move. That was move 35, I'm sure. Opponents were in time trouble in that moment. Probably they waited for time control after move 40, so that's why both of them go for some prophylactic moves. Finally, black again goes for double pin on the c file, pinning the knight in two directions. Rook c1, rook a8, and finally rook c2. Now black must go for something, and he decided to play g5. He uses the moment white pieces are mostly stuck on the queen side. White cannot move knight white cannot move queen and rook in some good manner and some good way, and that's why black decided to play g5. With one opponent pieces stuck on one side, it is good to attack on the other side. As you can see, in that moment, pawn a3 is used to somehow deflect white troops from protecting the king side, and white king is in danger. After h takes, bishop takes, one may say black pieces are also far from the king side, but you can see, dear chess friends, black will easier regroup towards king side. After rook a2, black played consistently h4, of course. What you do? Here white should play something like knight d2, but then that more resistant move still will lead to losing the game. After h takes, king takes, and queen g6. Sooner or later white king will face mating threats. Also here, let's say queen b3 would be good enough, and king g6, that must be winning, but there is no logic for black to go for this. So after knight d2, h takes is correct, and queen g6. Once again, I will underline that white has pieces stuck on the queen side. Black will use attack on the king side to win the game. So let's see what happened in the game. Finally, white played f4. He wanted somehow to build some shield for king on f2 and f3 squares, but of course there is nothing. That's just an illusion, because black has so instructive sacrifice bishop h4. Of course, what happens if white takes that bishop? Well, there is just rook g8, and black will soon mate the opponent. I think there is mate in 3 moves. White can delay that only with queen d1, but now there is the mate, trivial more or less. So after h takes, crucial was to remove bishop with tempo, attacking the king and opening g5. King h2 was happened, and once again threatening with discovering check. Of course, queen h6. There is also idea to play rook g8 and then to discover check, which will be the mate. King h1 was possible, but after king h1 there is bishop f2, and white won't be able to play rook h2. So that's why white played king g1, trying to cover check with rook and to escape with the king if possible, but all black pieces are hunting for white king, and they do that with tempo. Now bishop f6, controlling very important diagonal. Of course, there is threat of queen h1 or queen h3, knight e5, and now there is forced win. I will not spend so much time analyzing that, because sooner or later white will just resign. Of course, f takes c, rook g2, and after that there is mate. In manner of real gentleman, white allowed black to deliver the mate. So everything started with very important decision and very wrong decision for white in that move. So as you can see, b4 is not good in that position. What should be played? Well, there is sense, that makes sense to play knight e3. Let me show this. Maybe later a4, installing knight on c4, and intending with bishop c3 to play using some statical operations to install pieces on light squares. Maybe queen will go to b3, you see, and by occupying weak light squares on queen side, white will have some normal position. Black will have more space. He will try to provide f5 and e4 then to open the bishop and to undermine that knight. Beautifully would be installed on c4. But after b4, one of crucial mistakes, white allowed black to create dangerous passed pawn, and black used that to win the game. Other continuation, next continuation happened in the game. Well, simply white missed to play here e4, which would give him practically solid play after rook b4. As you can see, white will have better bishop, pieces would be active, and he will have balanced chances. That would be unclear position. But white allowed knight e3, clear mistake, and the point is knight was not able to stay safe on c4. Black played f5, e4, undermined that knight with using passed pawn to win game in so beautiful manner. I hope you enjoyed that video lesson, my dear chess friends, and I hope you could learn some things. Don't allow opponent to create passed pawns with not getting something special in return. Okay, see you soon with new examples. That would be all. Bye bye.